What's good, YouTube? And welcome to a snow day in Texas. Everything is shut down because that's how the great state works. So I'm stuck inside. My move has grinded to a halt. So I've decided we're going to do a live stream tonight for the first time in months, 7 o'clock Central. Be there. That being said, let's go ahead and get into today's market watch. And we're going to start. You remember that comment I talked about? My bias is showing with Gamer's Choice. I would have ripped TCG Player to shreds. Well, first off, I did an 8-minute video dropping my intro, looking in disgust, and then broke down every mathematical point of why I thought it probably was too expensive. But TCG Player pre-sales are up, and it makes Gamer's Choice look like angels. And unlike usual, where you see 3 or 2 sellers on certain things at first barely undercutting each other, we're getting to double-digit pre-sellers, and it's this bad, where playsets of just 2 of the secret rares would be the entire deck core Gamer's Choice is offering, before we even talk about code What's Good 5 for 5% off and to support the channel directly. And I think there's a lot of FOMO going on with this set too, because the boxes are also pre-seller locked, pre-sale item, and they are starting to get chomped on in the $70 range, as if this is Darkwing Blast, when realistically we're looking at one staple-ish card, a deck core that people have been waiting to play that is not tier limit, that they're hoping it will have strength against the ban list, right? And I'm also seeing in the conversation a ton of people talking about them wanting to sell their Fenrir's and Unicorn, and they're down just a little bit, but not really too much, like a couple of dollars on each. When you do click on them, they're sellers under there, and they're trying to get rid of them heading into the set. But Darkwing Blast, why it's so freaking expensive is there's tons of super pulls and different kind of varying, like you have the ultras being more desired than any of the secret rares. Like, that's crazy, but them being up there, it's a different varying level of estimated value pulled. Now, why I went through everything I did with Gamer's Choice is they have a great history in the game of being able to price just under or about right towards the top end of the set. That is why I feature them, and they do a really good job of that. But I still went through this set being not as ordered as other sets. I went through Banless Brain and Market Brain. I went through every single route in order to say, hey, I wouldn't have bought that at pre-sales. And at this point, that was right, because Tier 0 looked like complete angels, and they came in under them and had really good prices, but they also sold out pretty fast because of that. So pre-sales are one of the most controversial segments, because in a sense, you are gambling, but you're making an estimated kind of guess when you're throwing that dart at the dartboard of this will end up being probably better than the prices where they do their estimated value pull chop up. Usually it's 3 to 5 on great sets like Rise of the Duelist, 8 to 11 things that end up going up in value versus pre-sales. And even then, the window of being able to get under it can happen on cards like Ice Dragon's Prison at just $7. Remember, out of Rise of the Duelist? So there are even some of the great cards when you shop on pre-sale, you could have got a better window. But whenever you try to shop for that maximum value, the best you could have potentially ever done, you do end up missing on that window a lot when you're trying to get in there. Now, with specifically the TCG Player pre-sale system being broken, you're seeing ridiculous prices like Sargos at 40. Remember me saying, hey, $10 seems like a pretty good deal. I see Tier 0 over here at 16. I think that's kind of closer. $40 freaking dollars. And all of these have sales. That's what's mind-blowing to me. People are spending their money either uneducated on this, or vendors are spending on themselves, taking the fees, trying to get that stampede started of people buying from them. It's just an awful system. I really don't like it, and that's why I rip TCG Player to shreds when I look at Gamer's Choice history, and I still say, hey, I wouldn't have done that. But at this point, it's starting to look a bit more tempting, but don't give in to FOMO. Test before you invest. Make sure with your Banless Brain that has fears towards the decks, also look at how it went in the OCG, that Konami has future things to provide, but all of this still leads to speculation, and you have big risks whenever you head towards that. So again, not a financial advisor channel. I don't know the future of the ban list. I don't know the future of reprints, but there are a lot of factors to consider whenever you are going after the decks. But I do understand, like, why this is scaring people a lot, especially when you have more sellers than usual being this freaking greedy. Now let's talk about the Adidas Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Magician. This launch went terribly, and a lot of people in the shoe game are saying that's about normal. I had a couple canceled orders orders myself from different websites. A lot of people, their orders got canceled. The app basically crashed on launch. But I gotta say, for what it is, the Dark Magician, versus what speculation would be on the price from a lot of people in the game, $200 honestly isn't bad. Yeah, you don't get the shoes and it launched at $120, but that's not even a double flip for the card, and that's what most people are after. A seller last night went up at $100 on like 12 copies and ended up selling out very fast, of course. But when it comes down to this, there's going to be a lot of deals that pop up in this situation relative to the item, and I actually don't think this is too terrible in terms of people trying to flip the card. Nightmare Corruptor is skyrocketing here once again. This is heavily speculated within the format to be very good, and people are staring it down heading in towards that YCS WCQ season. And yeah, if tier limit's not heavy hit, it's not the worst thing in the world to be throwing on their board. Let's talk Amazing Defenders. This set is like the graph for most deck building collector rare sets, just going down, down, down into the dirt, and that's pretty understandable. People don't want to rip it open for the estimated value pulled, and because of that, the singles are doing what most of these sets don't. Like, they're actually getting decent prices for what they are. Like the Mekanko, it's holding at 30. The Purely is holding around 17. Remember, it was bought out to 20, but that's still relatively holding for what it is, and there's a lot of $10 cards right now. So when it comes down to this, a lot of the collector rares in that estimated value pulled are downshifting a bit. Like 1 for 1 at 50, a lot of people said this would be 70, 80, maybe a buck, like a full $100. But when it comes down to it, it's half of that. And the Purely, the Eevee is on top of the set, which, to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh! Twitter called right. They get something right once in a while over there. And Isolde is around 50 and starting to go super low on quantities. I did call that I like this one as an enabler that would find its place in the future, but a lot of people feel a type of way about this waifu. And I think, I always murdered this word, Noir looks really good. I try to read it face value whenever I'm speeding through. Now, looking at Card Trooper, extremely pleasant that it's so cheap for something that people would go after a playset of. Same with Gizmek Orochi. See, these would have been some of my calls in collector rares, and they're some of the lowest in this entire set for CRs. So a lot of these are going down in value as the actual core set has some value to give back, yet at the same time, the box is failing and going down as predicted. Not all sealed is doing terrible. Battles of Legend is back up a couple of dollars, and those Limbs of Exodia are actually holding 250 plus for a lot of them, a lot of sales at the 260 mark, and the Starlights are actually giving back to this product on another level than a lot of people called, because at first those limbs were going down, they were pretty cheap, and now they've really rebounded, and people are working on adding that Exodia into their collections, especially for nostalgia reasons. The rest of the set, though, is actually down throughout this winter market, which is awesome. That's what the winter market does. So I do think if there are singles you want out of the set, it's probably about time to get them. Yes, there are going to be other reprint sets heading into WCQ season, most likely, maybe Ghost 3, maybe Maze replace that, but when it comes down to it, we're likely to get a reprint set ahead of that, and I don't think they'll double dip too much on these cards, so I think a lot of these are at the bottom out point, and if you want cards original to the set or reprinted, it's probably time to move on them. Now, Mavens has some interesting movement that I did call would happen. Dark Magician Girl got hard targeted, and it is for the secret rare up. Now, this front page again is going to be super weird because Ultra Pharaoh Rare is from the EU only, so people with EU connections or listing on TCG Player from over there, etc., they're going to be the only Ultra Rare Pharaoh listings here, and we're going to get more international travel, people bringing them over, people trying to, put them up on over here, but the secret Pharaoh rares realistically are more desired, and the EU, as I understand it, most of them want the secret ones as well, whereas over here, it's just harder to find, and some of them do look better to their credit, such as Necro Valley. I think it looks amazing in the Ultra versus the secret. It fits the card a lot better. So again, taste are subjective, but we'll see how that pans out long term. Let's talk about the the Dark Magician Girl. This, of course, atop the set. It's crazy what it has on the Ghost Rare, and you see the sales are up to $500 now as it went buyout mode. They are so freaking hard to pull out of a product that is going up in price, and whenever a product goes up in price, usually something in the set goes along with it, but not to this degree. So I do think it's a bit bloated, especially with the top sales being towards that, $500 range, but we'll have to wait and see how it actually relists, because there's not the most of these in the world, and people really make something extra special out of Dark Magician Girl collections. And finally, Dingirsu was up further than I thought. I've mentioned it casually before that when cards don't get a reprint for a long time and they have utility, this happens, but last I checked, I thought they were like at $8 and $10. They've gone up towards, $11, $12 plus now. So be aware that these have gone up over time, even lower in quantities, and it's pretty crazy. At this point, I might consider getting the ulti if it's still about its market price. Yeah, it is $48, because as the others go up, maybe they'll end up getting spied by Konami and reprinted. They're very thirsty for reprint choices at this point, because they have gone so far deep into them. Like, you have Baroness, she's gonna get reprinted. What do they have left to reprint besides Megaton candidates? They've actually kind of backed themselves into a corner, and some stuff is rising again, like Pot of Prosperity, but it can't sell a set on its own as a reprint, so they've got to work extra hard. At this point, they'll start to look for cards like this, so the Ultimate Rare will hold better value if there is a reprint, especially an upgrade like Secret Rare, where this will hold and the other Ultras would likely go down in price. That being said, thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the conversations and more general looks and market theory. And I will see you tonight on the live stream. It's going to be so much fun. Maybe a couple of drinks, plenty of market top, maybe just so much different things. I'm excited. It's been so long since I've been live, and I've been waiting. I thought I would be in the new place for the next live stream back, but one more here, it doesn't feel so bad to do. Thanks for watching.